Welcome back. Last week we had a shout on Sunrise. Some members of Idumuje-Ugboko community alleged that for 5 years the town has been facing insecurity challenges arising from alleged activities of Honorable Nwoko, a member of the community, who they said has forcefully seized people's farmlands for his private use. Those who dared to question him are arrested and incarcerated on trumped-up charges and sometimes uninvestigated as well. We now have with us those who have come to respond to the allegations made last week by members of the community. So other members of the community are here with us today to tell us their side of the story. It's my pleasure to welcome Chief Chris Ogu, who is Iyase of Idumuje-Ugboko. Good morning, Chief. Good morning. Prince Walter Ezeachi, former President General, Idumuje-Ugboko Development Union, is also here with us. Good morning. And we expect Dr. Michael Nwoko, Secretary, Umuomurusi, Nwoko Royal Family, and Special Assistant to the Delta State Governor on Health Monitoring, will be joining us via Skype in just a moment.
Abuja, from Abuja.
From Abuja. Oh, he's not Skype.
He's in Abuja.
He's in the studio in Abuja. Okay. Now, Chief, can I assume that you watched the program last week and that you are aware of the allegations that were made against Honorable Nwoko?
Yes.
And among them is the fact that he is seizing land in Idumuje-Ugboko for his personal use, even though he promised to use some of those pieces of land for projects that will be beneficial to the community.
Thank you very much for this question. This issue has been at the bottom of a lot of controversy in Idumuje-Ugboko. It is not true whatsoever. There's no truth that he has been seizing land and is using it for his own personal purposes. The truth is that in 2015, Prince Nwoko, as he was then known, applied to the Royal Majesty Obi Albert Okuwadegu Nwoko III, MON-JP, PhD, for land to erect a golf course and a university in Idumuje-Ugboko. You know, Prince Nwoko is somebody that is very keen on development of Idumuje-Ugboko land. And that's how we got involved through his application to the Royal Majesty, because that application was then transferred to the Iyase and his committees to look into, and I am the Iyase. So that application was transferred to me, and we were told by His Royal Majesty to go and look into this application, look and see if there's even land for this kind of work to be done, because we didn't have anybody applying for that size of land at the time. In 2015. So we took a while for us to search for land. And then we discovered that we had had a court case running for several years with the people, our neighbors in Onitshubo, in a neighboring community. And that we had the portions of land we won from that dispute, which lasted over many years, over a decade or more, is still available. People use it in an itinerant manner. They just go there and farm, without any purpose, just for themselves. But the land has been won in a court case which went as far as the Supreme Court. And we won that land. So we decided that, well, we recommended to His Royal Majesty, the OB, that this size of land is available in so and so location, near Onitshubo, between Onitshubo at one end, Ibodo, another village near us, that we can use this land to build a university. And he approved that this is a good location for a university. And he wrote us a letter of approval that we should go ahead and give the land. So that is where we are. We gave the land in 2015. Unfortunately, a few months later, we started receiving communication from people saying that why did we do that? That no, the king hasn't written an approval. The king didn't give an approval. He didn't say we should give. So why did we give? And we're wondering, where are these people coming from? Who are these people? Are they members of this community? And we later discovered that our sons and daughters living in Lagos and in Abuja and elsewhere who have not been around for many years around the community. And they just showed up, started to direct us. And then these troubles came on the heels of those questions.
So how much land did he ask for?
Well, he asked for first, even before I became ESA, he had asked for 33 hectares. Then subsequently on the university project, he asked for 90 hectares.
So
now
as a requirement, as required by the NUC, National University Commission.
the
National
33
University Commission.
was the one that was supposed to have been used for the dairy farm.
Not just the dairy.
Well, among other things.
Among other things,
but
yes.
was the dairy farm project executed?
Yes, to the best of our knowledge, it was executed. Except that the environment was not conducive, could not sustain the life of cows and cattle. They couldn't survive on the land because, we live opposite the place. People used to come from the place who drove cattle from Fulani workers. And they used to quarter in my little watering hole. And we used to talk about their work. They used to drive cow up and down the place in those days. The grass poisoned many of the cows, and they died.
So in other words, there is no dairy farm there today?
There is a dairy farm. There is a zoo. There is a zoo. There is a fishery, a fish pond, a commercial fish pond.
As a matter of fact, the truth is that in the year 2000, NED applied for land for agri projects, including a dairy farm and a dairy factory, a poultry, and others. Unfortunately, he was ill-advised. A dairy farm couldn't succeed or survive with the Idumuje-Ugboko climate. He brought in over 500 cows. Every Ugboko person, including me, saw it. Initially, I was the ringleader against him, against the 33 hectares given to him. Myself, Uche, who was then President General, and a few others. In fact, when we got to the palace at that time, we were chased out. But when I saw what NED was doing, that is a project going on, the cows brought in, the poultry running, and everything, I decided to support because it was development. And Ugboko people were working there. Unfortunately, like I said, cows don't survive with that climate. And that was one of the things which Alibe said at the onset, that he read agri-economics, that cows may not succeed or survive under our climate. However, there are still other agri-related projects there. There are commercial, a large-scale poultry farm. There is a zoo. There are other things. When he saw that the cows were dying, according to him, he approached Yobi and told him that he intended to extend to having a zoo and other things, including making there a national monument. That side, that is what we have there. Up till 2015. Before 2015, late Professor Samaina Gabriel Nwoko, officer of the Order of the Niger, retired as a professor of agri-economics, University of Ibadan. It has been anxious for us to have a higher institution. I remember at one time under Idumuje and the Elders and Leaders Forum, comprising of Idumuje clan and Odiane clan with over about 9 communities. We talked about education and all that. So it's been a burning desire for a professor to have a higher institution around there. So I asked him to approach NED. I was President General up to 2012. That was
Before or after Uche?
After Uche.
Okay.
Yes, after Uche, it was Chris Ogwo.
I was President General.
That's the current yes. Thereafter, Sunday Banye became President General. So in 2013, Professor Samayana came to my office and I said, why don't you approach Ned? Ned has money. Ned is throwing money here and there. Approach him so that we have a legacy, you know, and that was how he went to Ned. In 2014, both Professor Samayana Nwoko, now late, and Uncle Prince Martins Nwoko, also now late, they met with Ned, and that was how the idea of a university came. They were early 2015, when they approached, they took the matter to His Royal Majesty, late Obi Albert Nwoko III, and he asked them to put up an application to make it formal. An application was written. A copy of it is here. I sent it.
I beg your pardon. We don't have the whole day.
Yeah.
So you need to
I'm
abridge
summarizing.
everything that you have to say to
Yeah.
us. Now, the 33 hectares that he got the first, what was the purpose?
I've told you. I said for agricultural-related projects,
Okay.
including but not limited to a dairy farm.
Okay, so today is the agric concern standing on those
Exactly,
33
sir.
hectares.
Exactly.
We are told that he also built his house there, his palatial.
No. The part, just like Obiajulu, Prince Richard Obiajulu Nwoko acquired land there where his son has a house, as I speak with you, where Prince Ejimofo Frederick Nwoko has a palm plantation.
Okay.
It is that area that Ned has his private home.
Okay, now the Obi, we hear he is in hiding,
Who
as
is the Obi?
opposed to.
Is that you don't have an Obi?
Let me correct an impression. Let me correct an impression that has been making round. On February 6, 2017, and that's the genesis of the violence, the Obi of Idumuje-Ugboko passed on.
Yep.
When he passed on, people were not informed. The traditional rites that were supposed to be done weren't done. That same night, his first son, Prince Chukwunonso Justin Nwoko, proclaimed himself the king. When we're later told that he brought one old man and said he's the oldest man in town, that put him on what we call Isumikenuku. But that's not the tradition. We have a tradition. I may not have been born when the tradition was instituted, but it is clear on the intelligence report by R.B. Kia in 1937, which copy is here. You know,
So are you therefore saying that he is not the rightful Obi?
he is. We don't have an Obi now. Like I said, up to just last week here, up to just what day? The deputy governor's office wrote. Look at this letter. The deputy governor's office said everything about Idumuje-Ugboko kingship is suspended until the matters are over in the court. For you to be recognized.
Okay, we need to take a quick break and we'll be back in a moment. Okay. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Let's bring in Dr. Michael Nwoko, Secretary of the Umo-Morusi Nwoko Royal Family and a Senior Special Assistant to the Delta State Governor. Dr. Mike Nwoko, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Inyota and Alero.
Before we went on that break, I do know that Prince Azeez was talking about the throne, that he said there is no Obi. Why is that so?
Well, to the best of my knowledge and as a member of the royal family, I can state without fear of contradiction that members of Idumuje-Ugboko community and the family expect a formal coronation ceremony of the new Obi of Idumuje-Ugboko wearing staff of office will also be handed over to the new Obi of Idumuje-Ugboko. Well, there's been a lot of crisis in the community, which started since 2015, 5 years down the line.
Dr.
The
Nwoko,
community have been immersed in this. Yeah.
last week we had some people here who said that the OB is in hiding because Honorable Ned Nwoko is haunting him or ensuring that there's no peace in the community, so much so that the OB is in hiding. And you're again saying what Azeez actually said, like there is no OB at the moment. So who is the person in hiding? And why is he hiding?
Well, really, I wouldn't want to join issues with those who appeared, last week, to speak. To me, I think they appeared on the studio to carry out usual campaign of calumny, personal attack on the person of Honorable Prince Ned Nwoko, whose contribution to the development of Idumuje-Ugboko is no doubt a resounding one. I'm not aware if the OB of Idumuje-Ugboko is in hiding. But what I know is that just recently there were a lot of issues that arose on account of complaints being made by persons whose properties were destroyed during the crisis that rocked the community. And I'm also aware that the police, swung into action. I'm also aware that the police is doing their job. I also watched the program and realized that the police was also indicted for doing their job. But let me ask this question. You see, if you belong to a community that hitherto was known to be a very peaceful community, and all of a sudden there's this crisis arising from kinship tussle, issue of land, and you eventually have family members who were maimed during the course of the crisis, whose properties were destroyed. If you choose eventually to seek for justice, I want to believe that you have a right to do so. And if the police now choose to do their job, will it be fair for some persons to appear on national television to indict the police? Will it be fair? Obviously, it will not be fair. But you see, I wouldn't want to join issues because I think that the very essence of appearing on this program is for us to be able to dwell on the issues without necessarily calling names, or without attacking personality, as it were. You see, the family have actually taken bold steps since this crisis began since 2015. And I give you a bit of semantics in that regard. On the 8th of November 2015, there was a meeting of Nwoko royal family called at the instance of His Royal Majesty, Obi Abat Nwoko III, at the palace of Idumuje-Ugboko Kingdom, wherein these issues were put on the table. And in that meeting, there were resolutions. Then there was also a follow-up meeting on the 30th of May 2016, meeting of Umunkeze family members called in Asaba with a view to resolving issues. And then that followed by another meeting called at the instance of the AIG Zone 5 in Benin on the 1st of June 2017, where all parties were invited to make their presentations. After then, we had the meeting also called at the instance of His Royal Majesty, Obi Charles Anyasi, the Obi of Idumuje-Ugboko, with a view to resolving issues, and all parties were invited. Unfortunately, that meeting was called off because on the eve of that meeting, Crown Prince Nwoko called that he would not be able to attend the meeting anymore. For whatever reasons, we don't know. And then that followed by the Benjamin Elue-led Peace and Reconciliation Committee that sat in the month of August in 2017, where all parties made their presentations. And of course, the latest is the Committee of Traditional Rulers in Anioma Land, ably led by His Royal Majesty, Obi Dr. Efezomo II, the Obi of our kingdom, and chairman of Delta State Traditional Rulers Council. They issued a communique. In fact, they sat for several weeks and issued a communique on the 26th of January 2020. Now, I have the 6-point communique. Permit me, to read it, just for us to be able to set the record straight. Just the bullet points. I'm not going to take your time. 1, that all cases in court relating to the dispute in Idumuje-Ugboko be withdrawn with immediate effect. Also, the new case for the petition should be accommodated. That His Royal Majesty Obi Nwoko and Honorable Prisoner Nwoko haven't agreed to close ranks before the mediators should resume cooperation with a view to advancing peace process. That the counsels to the disputing parties, as a matter of urgency, should work out modalities for the cases, petitions to be withdrawn and report to the committee, taking into consideration that royal fathers have placed a curse against continuation of all cases and petitions in Idumuje-Ugboko. 4, that all chiefs of Idumuje-Ugboko should resume their respective duties in the kingdom immediately. 5, that all cases of banishment, fines, and pronouncement are hereby rescinded and should not be repeated in the future. That all parties to the dispute are bound by this resolution, signed by His Royal Majesty Obi Dr. Emmanuel Efezomo II, Obi of Owa, His Royal Majesty Obi Henry K. Kachuku, Obi of Obolono, His Royal Majesty Obi Daniel Ogbudo, Obi of Atuma, His Royal Majesty Obi Victor Chukwubaleze, Obi of Onichugbo, His Royal Majesty Obi Charles Anyasi II, Obi of Idumujono, His Royal Majesty Obi Engineer Undoka Iziagona, Obi of Iseloko. Now, this is a roadmap to peace. In other words, this is a pathway to peace. But unfortunately, this communique is not being implemented. In fact, the other meetings that have been held all had resolutions. But I want to believe that the crisis that we are seeing in Idumuje today, the escalated crisis in the community today, perhaps is a consequence of the lack of implementation or non-adherence to the resolutions of the peace meetings that have been held. I had the honor and privilege to attend most of these meetings. So if you really look at the issues, talking about the issue of land, some allege that the initial 33 hectares that was applied for by Honorable President Nwoko was used for residential purpose. That is really mundane and preposterous, because the residential building of Honorable President Nwoko in Idumuje-Ugboko is seated on 4 hectares of land, which he acquired from individual owners. Good. Now, the 33 hectares was requested for the purpose of setting up dairy farm and other agricultural-related purposes, etc. If you visit that site, you will see an industrial-scaled zoo, you will see an industrial-scale poultry, you will see an industrial-scale fish pond. Good. And then when you also visit that site, you will see a monument that is captured under the Mount Nwoko Resource Center. You will see for yourself, and you must have heard about the Mount Nwoko Resource Center. These are all geared towards effective development of Idumuje-Ugboko, which Honorable President Nwoko is totally committed to. That Mount Tourist Resource Center attracts over 5,000 visitors annually from different parts of the country and, of course, different parts of the world. And I can also state without fear of contradiction that the engineering workshop of the proposed Taj University is also currently seated in the 33 hectares of land earlier approved of Honorable Prince Nwoko. So what I can say at this junction is that Honorable Prince Nwoko is totally committed to the development of Idumuje-Ugboko. This he has been doing with precision. But unfortunately, there's been this resistance from some forces around the palace, which is really quite unfortunate. Because, now, let me also inform here that as a follow-up to the meeting conveyed at the instance of the AIG Zone 5 in Benin on the 1st of June in 2017, it was resolved that Honorable President Nwoko should pay a visit to Idumuje-Ugboko Royal Palace to visit his brother, Crown Prince Nwoko, so as to be able to open up a channel of communication. Because we felt that if that channel of communication is opened up, that will eventually open up a roadmap towards ensuring that peace returns to Idumuje-Ugboko. And that meeting was slated for 10. The meeting between Honorable President Nwoko and Crown Prince Nwoko in the palace of Idumuje-Ugboko Kingdom was slated for 10th of June in 2017. But unfortunately, the meeting was eventually moved to Sunday, the 11th of June 2017. We were all prepared to even attend the meeting with Honorable Prince Nwoko before a call came from Crown Prince Nwoko that is no longer ready to accept, Prince Nwoko. That was the same day that the meeting that was conveyed at the instance of His Royal Majesty, Obi Charles Anyasi, the second, the Obi of Idumuje-Ugboko, was also called off because Crown Prince Nwoko had called on the eve of the meeting to say he was no longer going to attend. So I think that members of the Nwoko royal family, to the best of my knowledge, are totally committed to peace. Members of the community are totally committed to peace because the community have enjoyed, peace and security over the years, to the best of my knowledge. But because of some forces around the palace, it is not making the adherence to resolutions from these peace meetings, to, be effectively adhered to. But I have a firm belief that, peace will return if all parties agree to come to the table and go about the faithful implementation of the communique that emanated from the Committee of Royal Fathers in Anyoma Land, ably led by His Royal Majesty, Dr. Ifezamo, the second, the Obi of our kingdom, and the chairman of the Delta State Traditional Rulers Council. If that communique is effectively implemented, peace will return to Idumuje-Ugboko.
Right. Dr. Mike, let's come back here and talk to Prince Azeez. Prince Azeez, you were, before we went on that break, you were talking about the throne, the ascendance to the throne, but he has answered that bit. But let's look at this thing about the land.
Yeah.
So 93 hectares of land. Honorable Ned, 90. Honorable Nwoko applied for 93 hectares to add to the 33 he already got for, as I said, for a university. So this is what the people that were here last week said, that the late Obi refused and wrote him 3 letters to the effect in 2015-2016. He said, he applied for, our community is 100% agrarian. Honorable Nwoko wants 2 by 2 kilometers in addition to the 33.4 hectares the community gave him in the year 2000. He's asking for more land. The Obi wrote to him in 2015-2016, 3 letters. His son, the present Obi, who succeeded him, upheld this position. This is his grouse. That's the grouse Honorable Nwoko. Since then, Ned has filed about 16 lawsuits against the Obi and members of the community who are opposed to this quest. 6 members of the community under incarceration for 1 to 3 years on trumped-up charges without arraignment because there is no iota of evidence. In the last 2 weeks, the Obi and 3 other people have been under police harassment, intimidation, and arrest and detention. This land appears to be part of the issue. The 93 hectares, what is the situation there?
Fine. I'm sure we are through with the 33. Now, the 93 hectares, the 90 hectares, not 93.
Okay.
Because if you even look at the letter written by His Majesty, the application that Chief Christopher Ogu told you about was made and dated 16th of March 2015. Now, after the meeting, on the 4th of April, 10th of April rather, 2015, His Royal Majesty wrote this letter. Naturally, except for either corporate body or you want to write to an individual, the only channel the OB addresses the community is through what we call the Zwane, the gathering of the 4 federative villages. That's the way the OB addressed the community. Okay. So on the 10th of April, a letter was written, signed by His Royal Majesty, in which he acknowledged the letter of Liners International through Prince Nwoko, dated 16th March, like I've said, 2015. And I have carefully considered your request for additional 90 hectares of land, not 93.
Okay.
That's one. That is the OB's signing of that letter. Now, during the
OB says he's considering the request.
No. He said, I have carefully considered your request, not considering. Considered your request for additional 90 hectares of land for establishment of Idumuje-Ugboko golf course and a further 2 miles by 2 land for a sports university, and I'm happy to inform you as follows. The town will go into partnership with your company by investing the capitalized value of the land at appropriate rate in the golf course. The land for the university shall be donated by the village. I hereby instruct the Land Allocation Committee and the committee established by the Zuani that held last month to determine the current value of a land and capitalize it for the purpose of the investment at the appropriate rate for the cost.
This must be the letter that we were told last week that is fake.
I'm coming. I am coming. Now, on the 12th of August, another letter emerged claiming the opposite. Early September, this letter was shown to me by the chairman of Aniocha North Local Government Council, Honorable Chuks Oseme. He said, I am at a loss because we are to issue a customary right of occupancy. But this is a letter that came, and this is the first letter we had. Before then, on the 11th of July, 2015, the then President General of the Union, my successor in office, convened a meeting where this issue of the land for the university was resolved. And that was what led to the executive, that was the national executive of the town union, writing and addressing this letter to the local government council chairman, informing him that the union is equally involved in the approval and in the process of the allocation of land. Now, back to this. When the two letters appeared, after the council chairman showed me, I went back to Bennett Odo, the President General, and said, what am I hearing? We had a meeting in July, and after July, what am I hearing that there are two letters now? He said,
Were
yes.
you the President General at that time?
No, I just left office. My successor was Bennett Odo.
Okay.
The man I said I went to meet in his office. Now, I asked him, and he said, yes, so my brother, there are two letters. One was given to me by Prince Ned, and the other one was given to me by Prince Nwoko. And I said, how can this be? I went to the palace. I called the late to be my uncle, which really he was, 3 times to find out what really was wrong, what has happened, and what is happening. More importantly, that other letter of 12th of August was addressed to nobody in particular, and it was irregular. It is still irregular for the OB to address his community through Okpokpa letters sent to the churches, instead of calling for an Izuani, the town meeting, to address his people. So there was something sinister. 3 times I was not allowed to see him. They say he traveled. I sensed some foul play, and I decided to address a letter to the Commissioner of Police to investigate these 2 letters. Okay.
And what did he find?
The report is equally here.
Just summarize it, because we don't have
The
time.
report was that
We must start winding down.
Is it the report was that Prince Nwoko, Prince Frederick Obiajulu Nwoko, and Prince Richard Obiajulu Nwoko and Prince Frederick Ejimafo Nwoko conspired among themselves to obtain this letter from His Royal Majesty illegally. Okay? And as I speak with you now, the case of forgery is before the magistrate court.
Okay, so
since 2020,
so
2016.
now, this land now, So there's still that battle of whose letter should be obeyed. But from the
No,
letter you
no,
read,
for the 90,
just
from
that
the
I-
90,
from
for the 90
Yeah,
hectares.
it's not
So
whose
the
letter
community-
to be obeyed. The truth of the matter is that police carried out a thorough investigation from September to February. It was February 24th that they released, I requested, and a copy of the police investigative report was sent to me. I forwarded them to Ayola, the producer of this.
But have the 90 hectares been allocated to Nwoko?
Of course, yes. And there is a memorandum of understanding to that effect, signed by members of the 4 federating villages of the community, between liners on one part and the community on the other part.
Okay, I
saying
will
that
ask
the
you-
community has 40% equity in the project.
I will ask you the same question which I asked the group that came last week. 90 hectares is a huge amount of land. And I asked them, I said, Idumuje-Ugboko cannot be called a village if it has 90 hectares to allocate to one person of land just sitting down there. Or are these lands that belong to people which were now aggregated and given to Nwoko?
Thank you. The land does not belong to anybody. In 1956, between 1956 and 1969, that's approximately 13 years, Idumuje-Ugboko and Onitshubo had land crisis. Late 55, Onitshubo annexed some part of Idumuje-Ugboko land. Now, this particular section of the land was reserved for development since 1969. And that's where part of it was where we built the community secondary school. Part of it was where, when late Elder Siwa and Izor relocated to Idumuje-Ugboko, it was allocated land there to build a furniture factory.
So what's happening to the school now?
Which of the school?
The one you say is on this piece of land.
Not this particular one now. A section of it. I'm not saying
Section
the land is vast. We
Okay.
had a boundary from
I'm
Onitshubo.
sorry, we've run out of time completely and we just got to go now. That was Prince Walter Ezeashi, former President General.
Sorry. May I quickly say that Prince Nwoko is not a bully. Prince Nwoko did not encroach into
Former
anybody's
President
land.
General Idumuje-Ugboko, and we also had from Abuja Dr. Michael Nwoko, Secretary Umuomorisi Nwoko Royal Family and Senior Special Assistant to the Delta State Governor on Health Monitoring, who joined us from our studio in Abuja. Well, we wish you a speedy resolution of this crisis because it seems to be escalating. And from what Dr. Michael told us, there was a meeting at which it was decided that everybody should sheath their swords. So, people of Idumuje-Ugboko, please sheathe your swords, and especially since a number of you have the same surname. You're all Nwokos from what we see. And there's no reason why you can't, as a family, sort these matters out. Good luck to all of you. Sunrise will return in just a moment. Please stay with us.